Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode in our WCW series in TEW 2020. We are on the road to Fall Brawl 1997. That's right. We're not running any event in August. We're going straight to Fall Brawl, which is after this show, like 6 weeks out. So we've got a hell of a build to the next show. I thought about doing an event for August, but I just decided it would be easier to just not do one. And kind of stick with Fall Brawl and all that. So we'll go from there. And also because I didn't like the idea of Road Wild or Hog Wild or whatever it was in 97. I don't like the idea of it. So anyway, tonight is another episode of Nitro. After the chaos of last week, we're going to have to see what ends up happening here tonight on Nitro. And kind of see where things develop from there. I mean, it's been a few weeks since I've recorded for this series, because the last time I did a bunch of recordings a few weeks ago, and that's what you all have been seeing for the last few weeks. Didn't get a chance to do that this weekend, but we'll have to see if I do that again here soon. But nevertheless, it is time for Nitro. Now, normally I don't show the pre-show bouts. One, because I usually don't have a whole lot of them, and two, because they're just whatever. They're kind of whatever. But the problem is we have an issue with the pre-show bout this week. So I decided to have the Giant he wasn't going to be on Nitro, but I wanted to get him kind of featured. So I had him just have a squash match against a developmental talent that we brought up. Not like on a permanent basis. We're just borrowing him for the night, Kid Chaos. So, Giant wins a squash match in under 4 minutes over Kid Chaos. Whatever. Kind of cool. The problem is, as you see there on screen, he sustained a ACL sprain. So I'm guessing as he hit the big boot, he sprained his ACL. Now it's not red, so that means that he shouldn't be like out. He's probably just gonna be like working through it. I think maybe, I don't know. I think an ACL sprain in the game, you're only out for like maybe a week, if that. It might only be a matter of days, so might not have anything too much to worry about. But there's that. Giant decided to hurt himself before the show started, so there's that. 16,522 people at the Kiel Center for this episode of Nitro. Thank you, Piper. C's. Nitro start off with a 99 rated segment. Not sure why it wasn't 100, but whatever. As Ric Flair comes down to the ring and gets a microphone, he says that Bret Hart has gone around calling himself the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Ric Flair is the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. And WCW is the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Better than the New World Order. And Flair is sick and tired of the New World Order running around here trying to do things that trying to do all the dastardly things that they do, when everybody knows that the Horsemen are the ones that originated all that, and that it's pathetic that the New World Order is just trying to copy off of the Horsemen. And he says he's heard Bret and the rest of the New World Order go around saying that they're going to be trying to destroy WCW. They're trying to tear it down and just leave it, laid out, just leave it a wreck. But Ric Flair has bled and had so much blood, sweat, and tears pour out of him in a WCW, originally NWA, now WCW ring, that he refuses to allow that to happen. So he says, Bret Hart, he doesn't know he's issuing a challenge. He doesn't care when it happens. He doesn't care if Bret has to sit there and lick his wounds and prepare and train or whatever he has to do for it. He wants a one-on-one matchup with Bret Hart at some point in the near future. And he wants to make sure that that WCW survives this New World Order invasion, and that the only way that WCW will crumble to pieces will be over his dead body. And so the crowd's going crazy. Yeah, go Ric Flair. Yeah, they're cheering. And they get interrupted by Bret Hart, who doesn't actually come out to the ring. He's out on the stage here. He comes out with Ted DiBiase. accompanying him. And he says that there's nothing more pathetic than watching a dying dog begging for just another day in the sun. He says that he knows that Ric Flair simply doesn't have it anymore. That Ric Flair cannot compete on the level of Bret the Hitman Hart. That the only reason why Bret Hart is no longer the world champion is not because of Ric Flair's actions, it's because he had to send someone who's better than him to get the world title. And so, to answer your challenge, Flair, for this singles matchup, no. You're below me. You're a waste of my time. And if you want to continue to fight with me, then so be it. But you're not going to stop the New World Order from destroying WCW. 100 rated segment as Bret refuses to accept the challenge that Ric Flair put out. So, as of right now, we're not going to be seeing a one-on-one match in the future, but we'll have to see what happens. Bret says that the New World Order is going to destroy WCW, whether Flair or anybody else likes it or not. We're going to have to see how that ends up playing out. But 100 rated segment for this. Good stuff there. Then after that, television championship on the line here on Nitro. Sees Lance Storm defeat Sean Morley in 641 by submission with a single leg grab. Lance Storm making defense number 1 of the television championship. 56 rating for the match, 52 from Lance Storm, 44 from Sean Morley. So Lance Storm getting his first title defense since winning that championship at Bash at the Beach over Brad Armstrong. Speaking of which, Brad Armstrong comes out afterwards with Medusa. And he says that television championship, he admits he lost it. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't prepared for Sexton Hardcastle to get involved. He wasn't prepared for all that stuff. He admits he dropped the ball on that one. But he wants his rematch at some point in the near future. He knows that he knows the kind of person Lance is. He knows that Storm won't give him a rematch unless he's earned a rematch. So what he's doing right now is he's not issuing a challenge for a rematch for the TV title. No, because he knows that that's not going to end up happening. He knows Storm's going to back out. He knows Storm's going to be a coward, which, he's just trying to rile Storm up at this point. He says, instead, what he's issuing is a challenge for a mixed tag team matchup. Brad Armstrong and Medusa taking on Lance Storm and Itsuku Mita on Nitro. Storm and Mita don't really answer, but it's kind of mentioned by the commentators that Roddy Piper heard this challenge and decided to approve the challenge. Not sure why he didn't approve the Flair and Hart challenge, but whatever. So next week on Nitro, it will be Lance Storm and Itsuku Mita taking on Brad Armstrong and Medusa. So we'll have to see how that plays out on Nitro. 52 rating for this, not bad. Then we have a interview with Barry Windham. Of course, last week he lost to Bret Hart on Nitro. And he's down. He's down. He's talking about how he let Ric Flair down. He let the Horsemen down. He's letting WCW down. I mean, he lost at he was the one who took the loss at Bash at the Beach. He thought he could get the job done against Bret Hart on Nitro last week, and that didn't end up happening. And he's not sure where things go from here. He wants to keep helping the Horsemen out, but he knows he has to prove himself. And if he can't beat Bret Hart, then how can he prove that he should be fighting alongside the Horsemen in this battle against the New World Order? So he says, I'm gonna have to figure out. I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna have to do to prove that I should be side by side with Ric Flair and the rest of the Horsemen against the New World Order. So 76 rating here as we see, Wyndham's kind of questioning himself. He lost. He was the loser at the pay-per-view. He was the one who took the loss, and then last week he lost to Bret Hart. So I mean, he's kind of doubting himself right now. So we're gonna have to see where things end up going for him. Then after that, 44 rating for the match because Megumi Kudo lost some popularity after losing the women's title and dropped back down to an unimportant status, which kind of sucks. But about that subpar wrestling, non-existent crowd heat, Megumi Kudo defeated QT Suzuki in 807 by pinfall with a Kudo driver. 44 rating for the match. Kudo with a 60. Suzuki with a 37. Yeah, crowd didn't care, but you know what? It's TEW. I seriously doubt that would be the case. If this was real life, because obviously Kudo, was kind of the star, kind of the big star of the women's division for the last many months now. The champion and all that stuff. So I doubt that they would just be like, yeah, we all of a sudden just do not care about her, a couple weeks after or a week or so after she lost the title. But 44 rating here as Kudo gets the victory over Suzuki. Afterwards, Megumi Kudo is being interviewed by Gene Okerlund. And Okerlund kind of asks her, hey, like, we know you want that rematch for your women's title. Have you talked to Roddy Piper about it, all that stuff? Before Kudo's able to even really respond, out comes Bull Nakano and Sonny Ono. And Ono is like, why should you get a rematch? You lost. You lost the match. That means that you go to the back of the line. Doesn't matter if you were the champion heading into it. You lost. You go to the back of the line. You don't just automatically get rematches, which, teasing on the gray area of whether automatic rematches are a thing and are not. He's like, no, Bull Nakano is getting the next title shot. Bull Nakano has sat back for months now while you avoided her for so long that now she's coming after Daime Kansai for that women's championship. So kind of teasing the idea that, Kudo might have to deal with Nakano before she can get another shot at the women's title. We'll have to see what ends up happening with that. 49 rating here. Not too bad there. Then after that, Chris Jericho comes to the ring. And he's, he is loving life right now. And that is a very sarcastic tone right there by me saying that. He is not enjoying being here. He's absolutely just hating on everything right now. He says that Brian Pillman is holding his world championship, that he should be the WCW World Heavyweight Champion right now, but that the conspiracy is out against him to keep him from getting what is rightfully his, and that if it means that he's going to have to start destroying people one by one around here to get his title shot, then to get his title, then so be it. So we're kind of seeing a little bit more of an aggressive variation of the Chris Jericho we've been seeing recently, where he's, still claiming it's a conspiracy against him. He's still claiming that everybody's against him, but instead of complaining about it, he's gonna apparently just start destroying people, supposedly. We'll have to see what happens with that, but 100 rated segment for this, so very good stuff there. Then after that, about that did not have had very little drama to it because they did not have the psychology control properly. I know Bagwell doesn't have that good of psychology, but I thought Jerry Lynn had decent psychology. Whatever. Nevertheless, about that had good, decent wrestling. Jerry Lynn of the New World Order defeats Marcus Bagwell in 10-20 by submission with a cross arm breaker submission. Marcus Bagwell of the Four Horsemen, that is. Paul Levesque came in and distracted Marcus Bagwell during the matchup to allow Jerry Lynn to get the victory. 75 rating for the match, 80 from Lynn, 63 from Bagwell. Lost C for the storyline, whatever. I don't care. I don't care. The storyline's still really hot regardless. But yeah, this was a really good NWO versus Four Horsemen match that saw the NWO win because of kind of underhanded tactics. So we'll have to see if what ends up happening with that. It does get announced during this matchup that or not during the match, but after the match, it does get announced that this will not be the only time we'll be seeing Paul Levesque tonight, because it is actually going to be in the main event here tonight. It is going to be Steve Austin and Diamond Dallas Page, the tag team champions, taking on Paul Levesque and Steven Regal of the New World Order. So after Jerry Lynn and Sean Waltman couldn't get the job done against Austin and Page, this time around, now the New World Order is sending two other people after him. So Paul Levesque, the former United States champion, and Steven Regal are going to be challenging for the tag team championships here tonight in the main event of Nitro. But this got a 75. Really good stuff there. Then after that, of course, this is somewhat hesitant, depending on how bad that injury is for the Giant that we saw earlier. But Cactus Jack, he doesn't come to the ring. He's backstage. He says that he admits he lost at Bash of the Beach. He had to take last week off to recover. It was a hell of a war he had with the Giant. But just because the Giant won one battle does not mean he wins the war overall. After all, Giant brought it up multiple times heading into that match at Bash of the Beach that Cactus Jack beat him back at Starrcade. So just because Giant beats him this time doesn't mean that this is going to be the end of the battle between these two men. Cactus Jack wants another fight with the Giant, and he wants to make sure that this time he's able to topple the Giant once and for all. So 99 rated segment here, as Cactus clearly wants another match against the Giant. We'll have to see if the Giant decides to respond to that or not. Then, see, because that was backstage, this is actually in the ring. We see Dustin Rhodes come to the ring. He's actually got a match up next. But he comes to the ring and cuts a promo before the match, where he says that Booker T called him out last week. Said he wanted a rematch. He wasn't here. He didn't want to be here. He picks and chooses when he decides to be here now on Nitro. Because for so long, he let WCW tell him what to do. He let Roddy Piper tell him what to do. He let Eric Bischoff tell him what to do. And where did it get him? It got him nowhere. He tried to be the good guy. He tried to be the positive, happy guy. And it got him nowhere. Sure, he had title shots, but he didn't win him. Because he didn't have that instinct in him. He didn't have that killer instinct. He didn't have that instinct that he's seen so many of his opponents have over the years. And so now he has it. He's finding it. He's tapping into it. And he's going to make everyone regret their actions against the natural Dustin Rhodes. 97 rating here, as we're finding out that Dustin, it's kind of, Dustin just kind of snapped. He got tired of being the good guy, I guess, really. I mean, it's kind of basic, but it kind of makes sense, too. I mean, if you think about it, over the last, especially this year, he's had title opportunities and lost them. He's had big matches against, well-known opponents and lost them. He couldn't get the job done. So it kind of makes sense. Maybe, he's going to try something else. So this got a 97. His match got a 78. As he goes out and he defeats Billy Kidman in 550 by pinfall, the Bulldog. Still doing the Bulldog as finisher. 78 rating for the match, 81 from Dustin Rhodes, 44 from Billy Kidman. So nice little match here. Kidman, gets in a little bit of offense, but not really much. It's mostly just Dustin Rhodes. I'd say it's, it's one of those things where it's like 90 to 95% Dustin Rhodes offense. With a little bit of Kidman trying to fight back, but just not able to get it done against Dustin Rhodes. But even though this is a very good 78 rating matchup, it's not about what happens during the match, but what happens afterwards. Because as you can imagine, Booker T's here. And he comes sprinting out from the back after the match. Dustin Rhodes sees him coming and is able to escape from the ring just in time, and able to escape into the crowd. As Booker T doesn't even stop. It's not one of those things, like 9 times out of 10, actually not even 9 times out of 10, like 99 out of 100 times when this kind of segment happens, the face usually stops in the ring and then just kind of points at them and shouts at them and all this. No, Booker T's not even stopping. He's not stopping at all. He goes flying right out of the ring with Dustin Rhodes, hops over the barricade and just immediately starts chasing him through the crowd. He is on a full-on sprint trying to get his hands on Dustin Rhodes at this point. 76 rating here, as clearly Booker T is just full-on chasing Dustin Rhodes at this point. Then after that, we have an interesting little segment here. Gets a 99 rating. As Brian Pillman has a bit of a sit-down interview here. Not interview, but a sit-down promo. WCW World Champion, or World Heavyweight Championship belt on his shoulder. And he says that he's in an interesting position right now. On the one hand, he's a member of the Horsemen. Through and through, He's sticking with them. He's standing by the side of Chris Benoit. He's standing by the side of Marcus Bagwell. He's standing by the side of the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And right now they're going and defending WCW against the New World Order's invasion. So he knows that he will have to help defend WCW against this invasion. He knows he's going to have to hop in and help out when needed. But on the other hand, he looks over at the title. He says, on the other hand, I'm the WCW World's Heavyweight Champion. That means that not just the New World Order will be coming after me, but everybody in WCW will be coming after me. It doesn't matter whether I'm helping defend the company or not. Everyone in WCW are coming after me. You heard Chris Jericho out there earlier. He still wants a shot at me. We've heard it from other people here in WCW. The Giant and Cactus Jack are having a crazy-ass war to try to get a shot at the WCW World's Heavyweight Championship. Booker T and Dustin Rhodes want a shot at the WCW World's Heavyweight Championship. Hell, so many people want a shot. Hell, even my former tag team partner, Steve Austin, has mentioned in the past about wanting a shot at the WCW World's Heavyweight Championship. Everybody wants a shot at the title. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm still defending WCW. I'm still helping out the Horsemen. I'm still trying to take on the New World Order. But right now, I don't have a challenger lined up. I want to see somebody step up. I want to see somebody accept my open challenge for next week. Somebody can go to Roddy Piper's office right now, put their name on the dotted line, and have a shot at the WCW World's Heavyweight Championship next week on Nitro. So huge news there, as Brian Pillman is issuing an open challenge for the World's Heavyweight Championship next week on Nitro. That's going to be huge to see who ends up accepting that challenge. But this is happening right before the main event. The main event itself for the WCW World Tag Team Championships. Steve Austin, Diamond Dallas Page, the new odd couple or variant odd couple or however you want to call them, defending against Steven Regal and Paul Levesque of the New World Order. Oh my God. Ladies, gentlemen, trans, non-binary, whatever you identify yourself as, for the first time in this series, we have a 100 rated matchup. As in a superb matchup with the tag team titles on the line. Steve Austin and Diamond Dallas Page defeat Paul Levesque and Steven Regal in 1344 when Austin pins Levesque with a stunner to make defense number 2 of the World Tag Team titles. 100 rating. Do you know how crazy that is, by the way? Bret Hart was my world champion for months. Could not get a 100 rated matchup. Ric Flair has wrestled many matches. Cannot get a 100 rated matchup. Instead, and no offense to these guys, but instead, it ends up falling into the hands of a thrown together technically of 2 thrown together tag teams. One who have been tagging up for a couple of weeks now after the original partner left for a while. Well, was taken out by the New World Order, aka sent off to rehab. While the other are just 2 members of a stable together, and are not the actual tag team in the group. My God. 100 rating for this match. Let's goddamn go. During the matchup, you also see that Marika Ishida distracts William Regal. And while that distraction is happening, Marcus Bagwell hits the ring, and lays out Paul Levesque. Of course, that's kind of a receipt for what happened earlier in the night. It's your typical do not interfere in somebody's match if you also have a match later in the night trope in professional wrestling, because Paul Levesque gets laid out in his matchup after he cost Marcus Bagwell his match earlier in the night. And Steve Austin and Diamond Dallas Page retain the WCW World Tag Team titles. Steve Austin carried the match in terms of in-ring performance. He had a 97. 81 from Steven Regal. Despite working through his injury, he still had an 81. And 76 from Paul Levesque and Diamond Dallas Page both. Gained heat for the defending WCW storyline. The Odd Couple storyline advanced. DiBiase did good work at ringside. The Pages have good chemistry. Paul Levesque has a hot new move. Steve Austin has a hot new move. 100 rated main event. Let's goddamn go. That's exciting. For the first time in this series, a 100 rated matchup. 100 rating. Boom. 96 rated show. What the hell happened with this show? We just blew the goddamn water off. We just blew this whole thing off out the goddamn wet. Like, everything just got blown out the goddamn water. Increased popularity in 44 regions. 96 rating. Good God, what a show this was. What a show this was. Oh, man. That's crazy. That is crazy. All right. Does turn out the Giant's actually going to be out for a few weeks of action. A few weeks out of action while he recovers. So that sucks. Means that if there is going to be a rematch with Cactus and Giant, they'll have to wait a few weeks. WCW. Feedback has been incredible. Show is apparently an absolute success. Raw happened as well. Raw was weird this week, which you'll notice with that 79 rating. Just under 8 million people watching Nitro, by the way. Raw featured Ahmed Johnson defeating Jerry Sags and Tex Slashinger in the main event to retain the Intercontinental title. It wasn't a bad show by any means, but it was weird. That, by the way, is technically the fallout from their In Your House show that they just ran, which we can show that really quick. I don't want to spoil what I do have there, so we'll leave the splash screen up for the moment. Recent happening. In Your House happened. Saw Shawn Michaels defeat Jerry Sags in a cage match to retain the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Also weird. This show was kind of weird. This was probably one of their weaker pay-per-views they've had. Because for some reason, Shawn Michaels was defending against Jerry Sags in a cage match. Despite the fact that Michaels and Diesel are having a feud with each other. And in fact, actually, the best match on the show was Diesel defeating Savio Vega by disqualification. So they had a better... So Diesel and Savio Vega technically stole the show, having a better match than Michaels and Jerry Sags. Michaels also had an 80 in-ring performance. I'm not sure what happened with that. Is he, like, declining all of a sudden or something? Or is he working through something? Because that seems really weird that he had a 80 in-ring performance. Especially because that's one of the worst... Not counting the Royal Rumble that happened earlier this year, that's the worst match he's had in 1997. I guess it could have been maybe a chemistry thing. Maybe him and Sags don't have good chemistry together. I don't know. That would suck for them. But yeah. So that was a weird show that happened there. So yeah. So this Nitro ties Bash of the Beach for a 96 rating. But there's our only 100 rated matchup so far in this series. Or at least this portion. I could be forgetting. There might have been I don't think there was a 100 rating in the first half of this series before I switched computers. I don't think there was, because I think I was still chasing it. But at least in the second half of the series, there it is. 100 rating. Very good stuff indeed. TV ratings, highest ratings we've had so far. It just continues to grow. 9.79 TV rating, which is absolutely insanity. Absolute insane if you think about it. Just under 8 million people watching. There was almost as many people watching Nitro. It was less than a million more people watching Bash of the Beach than there was Nitro. Which is insane if you think about it. Absolutely insane. All right, so before we sign off, we do have a quick scheduling note. So, as we've seen in this series a few times before, sometimes we come across months where there are 5 Mondays. And obviously in TEW, you can't do a month with 5 Mondays. So what does that mean? Well, that means that next week there won't be an episode of Nitro. The next Nitro you will see will be in 2 weeks' time from when you see this episode. Or, if you're seeing it in the future, it will be the next one. But have no fear, all of you out there. Because I won't be leaving you high and dry. Because it's been a hot minute since we've done it, we are going to take a little bit more of an in-depth look at the rest of the wrestling world next week. It's not going to be a long video, but we'll take a more of an in-depth look at the rest of the wrestling world. We'll look a little bit more at what WWF has been doing, some of their top stars. But, we've kind of seen a lot of it. So we're going to look more in depth at, some of the other companies. WCW, WWF are right there, 1, 2. But USWA, we have to give some attention to in that video. Because USWA has moved their way up to 3rd in the entire world. That's right. The USWA is the number 3 company in the entire world right now. They're bigger than New Japan and All Japan and CMLL and AAA. So we got to talk about that because that's crazy that that's happened. But yeah, we'll kind of go over New Japan and All Japan a little bit. CMLL, AAA. Smoky Mountain Wrestling's still around. They're number 10. ECW's down to 13. So we'll look into it. We'll look into it some and kind of see, what's been going on in the wrestling world. What's been going on in the world of professional wrestling in this whole series. By the way, the NWA thing that you saw there, I feel bad about it. The NWA that you saw there was not the National Wrestling Alliance. It's another one called the Notorious Wrestling Association, which I think it's auto-generated. I don't think that's a real company. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's a real company. The problem is that for some reason, and I don't know why, because it's the same with another one, which we'll go over in that episode. For some reason, it's a computer generated, or it's a game generated company that is not doing anything at all. And so we'll explain it in that episode. But anyway, this has been long enough. But you know what? It's kind of worth it because we had our first 100 rated matchup. So I'll take it. Nevertheless, thank you all for watching. Definitely appreciate it. And we will see you next week for kind of a look at the world of professional wrestling in this series. And then in 2 weeks' time for our next episode of Nitro.